Volg Zangief, also known as the Red Wolf, is one of the most badass, selfless, and good-hearted characters out there. I don't mean only in Hajime no Ippo, I mean in every medium. Volg grew up in the Soviet Union during hard and cold days. He was raised by a single mother whom he cared for deeply. Both didn't have easy lives, especially because his mother was extremely ill and bedridden. One day, when he visited his mother in the hospital, he saw a wolf. When he saw this majestic and strong creature, he thought about his own weakness. Thus, he wanted to become as strong as a wolf to protect his mother. And this is how the story of the Red Wolf began. A short while later, he was found by Ruslan Ramuda, who saw Volg's immense talent. He trained him to become a successful amateur champion without any losses on his record. After the Soviet Union fell, Volg began his career as a professional boxer and moved to Japan. His goal? Becoming a world champion. He wanted to rush through Japan and get the JBC featherweight belt. When Volg entered the Class A tournament, 3 out of 7 boxers immediately resigned with excuses. This is how much aura this guy has. He obviously completely destroyed his opponent and then kept going after the ref tried to stop the fight. This is Volg's determination in a nutshell. He didn't keep hitting his opponent because he tried to hurt him more. He kept going because he wants to become a champion as fast as possible in order to care for his mother. When you have a goal in mind, especially one as important as helping your family, you can't think of anything else. You're blind and deaf to anything. You go as far as making the opponent unconscious so you're sure to be the winner. After this win, Volg was scheduled to fight Ippo. This encounter would end up being the reason for a loyal and brotherly friendship. No, not only friendship, family. Volg watched tapes of Ippo's fights before they had their match. Besides acknowledging his strength, he realized that Ippo was happy and always smiling after every fight. It wasn't just because Ippo had won. It was because Ippo truly loved boxing. Volg thought it was completely different from how he felt about boxing. He was a brilliant boxer, but he didn't really enjoy it. We'll get to the reason in a second. Volg and Ippo met at the train station before their fight and talked about their reasons and motivations. Volg addressed the videos of Ippo's fights and what bothered him. Ippo thought he was talking about a bad habit in his form, but Volg meant his face. He wants to know from Ippo, do you love boxing? Of course, Ippo confirms it. Volg seemed to be bothered by this answer because he didn't feel the same way about boxing. He seemed to be concerned about his fists. They're as dangerous as lethal weapons. That very fact makes him scared. Ippo wants to know, why do you box? Volg looks at Ippo for a second and then thinks about something important to him. He says, I want to have warm soup. Ippo is confused by his answer. What does soup have to do with anything? Volg continues and says that back home his mother is waiting. She has always been beside him, but she got ill and her body got weak. He mentions the tough winters back home and the reason he came to Japan, to earn a lot of money so she could finally be treated. And that's why he wants soup. He wants his mom to become healthy so he could eat the soup she made with her loving heart. Ippo realizes something in this moment. The sad face Volg made after his win earlier that day was because of the reason he just mentioned. Ippo understands Volg, because after the passing of his father, he was alone with his mother as well. They worked their fishing business together and supported each other. But most of all, his mother brought up a little boy and raised him to be a good-hearted young man. Volg is the same. He is here in Japan, a foreign country, talking to his opponent about if he loves boxing. And when he notices that Ippo gets a little emotional after Volg mentioned his mother, he even tells him not to worry about it. He says, let's get in the ring and fight at our best. That's how honorable Volg is. That's what his mother raised him to be. And he's also a lost puppy at Japanese train stations. He's always in very much trouble. The conversation Volg had with Ippo made Ippo think about it even at home. While he's eating with his mother at the dinner table, he asks her how she's been lately. He does this after thinking about Volg's words. He's reminded of how precious family is and wants to make sure that his mother is well. Ippo's mother says that thanks to him, she's perfectly fine. He smiles at his mother's smile and thinks about Volg's words about his own mom. When she gets better, I want to have the soup she makes. Ippo wonders if that's all it takes to fight like Volg. Maybe you don't have to love something. You can put your heart into it for someone else, someone dear to you. Then Ippo thinks about how incredible Volg is. Coming to an unknown country and winning matches, that's not an easy task. That takes determination and skill. While Ippo has dinner with his mom, Volg is in his dark room. But he's not alone. His mother is with him. He thinks, "Mother, watch me." He remembers the cold days in Russia when she first got sick. Even then, she told him not to worry and just to stay by her side. Now in his room in Japan, before his fight against Ippo, he's apologizing to his mom because he's not with her. If he wants to save her, he has to use his talent. Even if he doesn't love boxing, it's only for her. When his coach comes in and notices that he's just sitting there alone in the dark, Volg mentions that he can't get used to the lights because he doesn't have electricity at home. Can you imagine the mindset of a man who didn't have anything in life? Nothing. Not even basic necessities such as light. This is where his humbleness stems from. And then the match was up. Gazelle versus Wolf. Who will win? Date and Takamura both made predictions. Date went with Volg due to his experience. But Takamura says he always favors the dark horse. That's why he went with Ippo by KO. Both fighters are ready. The tension is rising. And the bell rings. What follows is a technical spectacle. The two pummel each other. Ippo literally eats a triple upper for lunch and then they enter a war of who breathes first. Which of course Ippo wins, because he literally grew up in the ocean. This leads to Volg eating a disgusting gazelle punch and ending up on the floor. And here comes the truly beautiful part of the fight. After getting knocked down, Volg thinks that he doesn't have any strength left, but now he understands. And then he addresses his mother in thought and says, "Mother, I love boxing. I like it." And then he loses consciousness. The fight is over. After Volg got the answer he was looking for, he finally let go. Ippo showed him his own love for boxing with his fists. After that, the two became close friends, as close as brothers. After the fight, Volg visited Ippo in the hospital to check on his condition. And now watch this. He apologizes to Ippo's mom for hurting Ippo during their fight. This shows how big Volg's heart is and how humble he is. He lost the fight and still cared for another human's well-being. This is what a man should be like. Ippo's mom offers him an apple and cares for him like the warm person she is. He is taken aback by her hospitality and immediately thinks about his own mother back home. He says the apple tastes like something he hasn't tasted in a while. He doesn't mean apples specifically. He means the delicious food his mom always makes. Volg asks her if she's worried about Ippo when he fights, since his own mother never wanted him to hurt other people. She says that she wants to ask Ippo, "What were you thinking?" when he comes home after a tough fight. But since he always used to be bullied and he's found something he loves and works hard for, seeing it makes her lose the will to complain. Whatever it may be, seeing her son work hard is a wonderful thing for any mother. This makes Volg think about the following. For the longest time, I was thinking about how I should tell my mother. What would she say if she knew I lost? How worried would she become? Coming to Japan and meeting Ippo and his mom made him realize what he wanted to say to his mother in order to take her worry away, but also to clear his own thoughts. Nothing except one thing matters. He's doing his best. But shortly after his loss against Sendo, he retired as a pro boxer and moved back to Russia. Unfortunately, his mother passed away due to her illness. After this, he made his debut, but this time as a junior lightweight. I won't talk about every single fight of his, since I want to address Volg's life and philosophy in general, but it's important to note that he finally ended up becoming the IBF Junior Lightweight Champion, which, let's be honest, was unavoidable. The dude has one of the best techniques out there and is a chess master among boxers. In his title fight against Mike Elliott, which, spoiler alert, he won, Volg was almost robbed of his win. How? Because after Volg knocked Elliott down, the ref counted in slow motion to drag the fight out. And not only did he count like a broken clock, but he also helped Elliott to his feet. Everybody was outraged. Volg's coach, Sendo and Ippo back home, the glass table, and even David Eagle, who's a friend of Mike Elliott. There is no honor in cheating. It's despicable. Although it's important to note that Elliott was still not totally conscious while this happened. Ippo and Sendo felt for one of their peers and close friends, his coach as well. Ippo was absolutely frustrated and crushed by what happened to Volg. He asked himself, why does this always happen to Volg-san? Why does he always have to fight under such terrible conditions? Why? How can Volg stand it? Then we see a scene of Volg's past and the reason why he went to America in the first place. His coach tells him that there won't be a warm welcome for him in America. there will be nothing but trials. We see Volg looking at his old coach, but we also see a younger version of Volg. This is because his strength and yearning for trials were shaped back when he was still a young boy. His mother told him to go with Ramuda, the old coach. He grew up in the harshest conditions. That's why he'll be fine. He can overcome any trials and become anything he wants. But then his mother died and he thought that he didn't amount to anything. All that he had left were fangs sharp enough to kill someone. He trained under the harshest and coldest conditions because he couldn't afford to shed any tears. They would freeze into dangerous icicles in the cold. But why continue to keep going like this? What was he hoping to accomplish? He realized that he loved boxing after fighting Ippo, but he wanted to put himself to the test by taking the most difficult path possible. Only after facing his trials in the harshest conditions would he be able to see how much he has hungered for this. For what? For success. What does this mean? He needs to be hungry and deprived of any comfort to be a true challenger, to truly fight for what he wants, like a hungry wolf who runs through the cold blizzard to finally catch his prey. Obviously, Volg ends up winning the fight like a hungry wolf. During his post-fight speech, he takes the mic and has some important words. In Japanese he says, "Thank you, America, and those who helped me grow. Thank you, my friends." Ippo and Sendo can be seen smiling. And after thinking about his mother, he says, "Thank you, mother. Thank you for giving me life." Volg went through the coldest and hardest path to reach success. But while being in the cold, he had warmth inside, the love for his mother and his friends. All of this makes Volg one of my favorite characters, a humble but badass guy with a kind heart who won't allow himself to take the easy path. Our environment shapes us. That's why Volg runs through blizzards, to be a cold beast. Eternal hunger keeps him fighting for more. His mother raised him with love and care. That's why he knows what warmth feels like. This warmth kept him sane and human when he crossed the barely visible line in the snow to become a strong wolf. You can walk the hard paths and endure tough trials. They keep you humble and hungry. But as humans, we also need a caring net of people around us. They are the comfort we need. They make us human. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.